This week's parsha is Parshat Vayechi, and it's the last parsha in all of Chumash Bereshit. We'll get to that later, but for now, Parshat Vayechi. So this Dvar Torah is based on a Dvar Torah I heard from Rav Bernstein 2 years ago, and it goes as follows. So first he notices that all 12 sons come to Yaakov, their father, and get a bracha from him. And interestingly, each bracha is different for each son, which in itself is an important point, but we'll need to discuss that hopefully next year. But for now, some of these brachas aren't fully relevant to the sons right now. For example, this is the question that Rav Bernstein brings out. That is to say, Zvulun, right? What's his bracha? That once he's in Eretz Yisrael, he'll be the merchant living off the coast, right? He'll live on the coast, and so he'll be dealing with business affairs. Now, what good is that to Zvulun right now? Zvulun is about to go into Galut, he's about to go into Mitzrayim, he's about to be crushed by the Egyptians, become a slave, right? Right now, that vision of him living on the coast as a settled tribe in Eretz Yisrael, that's going to happen hundreds of years from now. So what's Yaakov Avinu doing, giving him this bracha right now? That's not relevant. Says Rav Bernstein, and it's quoting Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Zatzal, that actually Yaakov Avinu was not sure that his children, his descendants, would make it out of Egypt, because the future was going to be very rough. And as we know, actually, even once we were redeemed, only 20% of us, only a fifth of us, according to one source, says that only a fifth of the Jews left Egypt. Only a fifth of us made it out. So Yaakov had reason to worry, and as such, he needed to tell Zvulun, some of his children, his sons. He needs to give them some kind of vision for the future. He needs to give them something to hold on to, because general words of encouragement, when you're feeling down and despair and being crushed, are not helpful at all. So as such, Yaakov wanted to give him a vision. By the way, not only you're going to do great, but actually, in the future, when you're a settled tribe among your brothers in Eretz Yisrael, you're going to be the merchants. You're going to be living off the coast, and you're going to be working, and you're going to be able to support your brother Yisachar and his learning. Wow, that's something to hold on to. That's so specific. That's such a specific bracha. That's so personal to Zvulun that of course he'll be able to take that and be able to bear the difficulty. Many people can bear the difficulties. When we're faced with troubles, it's not that we can't deal with it. Sometimes it's overwhelming and it's hard, but you can deal with it, especially if you have a vision for the future of what life holds. But if you have none of that, if all you're doing is just dealing with the difficulty day in and day out and being told, oh, by the way, you'll do great eventually, that's not going to help us. So that is Yaakov Avinu's greatness, his ability to give this bracha and see that this is the way to help his children make their way through the difficult times ahead. So that's idea one. Idea two. Again, we've just finished Chumash Bereshit. So what is at least one idea that we can take through from beginning to end? So I heard this in Dallas. I don't remember exactly who told this to me, but it's a beautiful idea. And that is to say, the idea of brotherhood and how we're supposed to live. So the first brothers, famously, are Cain and Hevel. Cain and Hevel. These are literally the first brothers ever. And their relationship ended terribly. Because what happened? Cain ended up killing Hevel. And after he kills him, God comes to him. This is chapter 4, verse 9. Vayomer Hashem el Cain, Ei Hevel achicha. Where is Hevel, your brother? Vayomer, and Cain responds, Lo yadati, I don't know. Hashomer achi anochi, am I my brother's keeper? And the resounding answer throughout Chumash Bereshit is yes. You are your brother's keeper. How do we see that? Because the next generation of brothers, the famous brothers, are who? Yitzchak and Yishmael. And that did not end very well at all. Sorry, that did not begin at least well at all. Because Yishmael, seeing Yaakov, Yishmael was 13 when Yitzchak was just born. Yishmael eventually, as Yitzchak is getting older, goes to play with Yitzchak. Now Rashi explains that means that he's firing arrows at Yitzchak, trying to kill him. And when he was challenged, Yishmael would say, no, I'm just playing with Yitzchak, we're having a good time, it's fun. And that's why Sarah eventually had to kick out Hagar and Ishmael, because Ishmael was a terrible influence on Yitzchak. He was also trying to kill him. So as such, that's how it had to go at the beginning. But at least towards the end, what happens at the end of Chayei Sarah? Sarah dies, and eventually Avraham dies. And at the end of Chayei Sarah, in chapter 25, verse 9, V'kiberu oto Yitzchak v'Yishmael banav el merat hamachpelah. his sons Isaac and Ishmael, both sons, buried him, Avram, in the cave of Machpelah. Wow. So they're able to come together and get along to perform this mitzvah to bury their father together. So here we see already an improvement, right? This is step 2 over step 1. Step 1, Cain kills Hevel. The brothers are killing each other. Here, again, there's still that animosity towards one another. But at least step 2, we see that they can come together peacefully to bury their father. What's step 3? Yaakov and Esav. That too did not go well at the beginning, right? Yaakov takes Esav's blessings, and after that, Esav wants to murder Yaakov, so Yaakov has to run away. That's what he does, and he stays away for many, many years. And then finally, after over 2 decades, Yaakov returns. He's worried about Esav's approach towards him, but at the end of the day, what happens? Again, chapter 33, verse 4. Vayaratz Esav likrato v'chavkeu, vayipol al tzavarav vayishakeu vayivku. Esav ran toward Yaakov, embraced him, fell upon his neck, and kissed him. Then they wept. This already is much better than, of course, Cain and Hevel. It's even better than Yitzchak and Ishmael. Here they're at least able to embrace. They hug each other. There's a tearful, emotional reunion. That's already better. Now, eventually, of course, they split up, right? They're not meant to live together. Esav has his land. Yaakov has his land. They're apart, but at least they're able to get along affectionately. And then, of course, the final story of the brothers. Yosef and his brothers. The brothers sell Yosef into slavery after contemplating killing him. But then what happens? After, again, many years, the brothers come down to Egypt, and they did tshuva, right? They want to keep the family unit intact. And of course, there's a beautiful, tearful, emotional embrace, this incredible reunion. And Yosef, right, the viceroy, ends up admitting the source of their troubles, ends up being their brother. And of course, Yaakov Avinu comes down, and they're able to settle. And then finally here in Vayechi, they get along well, and they're receiving the brachas from Yaakov Avinu. And therefore, in answer to Cain saying, Hashomer Achi Anochi, we see throughout this whole long Chumash that yes, you are your brother's keeper. Shabbat Shalom. Chazak Chazak v'nit chazek.